all her bullshit. We might do that in the next video. It's always because looking at the fan responses, I mean that's pretty fun because Indiana Fever at this point are getting absolutely sautéed. I mean you're getting cooked in a wok right now. All right, cooked in a wok. You're getting grilled. Like it's
The Indiana Fever just walked into the building of the team whose player put a fist in Caitlin Clark's throat 2 weeks ago. They played without Clark, not because she was injured, because Stephanie White decided she needed rest. DNP rest, and the Fever beat the Phoenix Mercury 92-89 in the most symbolically loaded game of the 2026 WNBA season. They are now 5-0 without their franchise player. 50% shooting as a team, 44% from three, 10 for 10 from the free throw line. A perfect night without Clark in the building of the team that fractured her season.
Safety. We want to make sure that we're holding the commissioner accountable about performing better. We just can all be better. As we've asked 3 basic questions. 1, how are you dealing with violence on the court? 2, what are you doing to hold violence accountable? And 3, how are you holding threats, both online and off the court, accountable to help protect our...
Let us break down the absolute masterpiece we saw in the box score, because this result makes the reality impossible to argue with. The Fever won, and they did it through pure, clinical execution. Kelsey Mitchell was elite, logging a spectacular performance with 29 points and 8 assists to spearhead the half-court offense. Aaliyah Boston stepped up in a massive way, anchoring the interior and punishing the Phoenix front line to the tune of 21 points on 56% shooting, while shockingly stepping out to drain 3 of her 5 attempts from beyond the arc. Tiasha Harris started again and provided an immediate spark, going an incredibly efficient 6 of 8 from the field and 3 of 4 from three-point range for 15 points. As a collective unit, the Fever shot 50% from the field, 44% from 3, and a flawless 10 for 10 from the free throw line, dropping 92 points in the building of the team that has the best home record in the entire league against a dangerous Mercury squad.
Festering within the WNBA. And this commissioner needs to look at it, because if it's racial discrimination, harassment, whatever, a 5th grader can see what's going on right now. And if the roles were reversed, let's be honest, Charles and Harvey, if the roles were reversed and it was an African-American woman on that floor and a group of white female basketball players doing what they're doing to her, there would be hell.
And the Clark fan base that has been demanding more minutes for their player since the first game of the season is now watching the team go 5-0 in her absence and has to grapple with the most uncomfortable question the 2026 season has produced. Is the team actually better without Caitlin Clark? Nobody is talking about why the answer to that question is simultaneously yes and no and deeply complicated. When Clark is playing, the Fever are a different kind of dangerous. She generates defensive gravity that no other player in the league creates. Defenses have to account for the logo 3, they have to account for the pick and roll with Boston, and they have to account for 9 assists per game flowing through the most creative playmaker in women's basketball. The offensive ceiling with Clark healthy and shooting well is higher than anything this team produces in her absence. But the execution ceiling is also higher in her absence because the team plays without the 4.6 turnovers per game that Clark contributes. The 5-0 record without Clark is built on a lower turnover rate, more collective decision-making, and a defensive identity that the team appears to execute more consistently when Clark is not on the floor. Whether that is about Clark's defensive limitations, the pace she plays at, or simply the random variance of small samples, the pattern is real enough that it demands honest acknowledgement. The answer is not that the Fever are better without Clark. The answer is that the Fever have been better than expected without Clark because the supporting cast around her is better than most people realized. And when Clark comes back fully healthy and shooting at her best, the supporting cast that has been winning without her is going to make her even more dangerous than she was in the first 5 games of the season.
Clark fan, and she kept it real.
What do you think about the whole situation? Caitlin Clark getting punched in the throat, the suspension, and media backlash?
It's got to stop. It is deliberate. It's intentional. She's wearing a target on her back. She's not gay. She's not black.
So you'd say 100% there is a racial element behind this, and there's a sexuality aspect to this because she's white, straight, and from rural America.
She's the golden goose of the WNBA, and people are jealous.
What do you think about the whole situation? Caitlin Clark.
She is kept it real. She's not black. She's not lesbian.
While this tactical drama plays out, the basketball internet has been absolutely roasting the league every single day for its institutional silence. The fan base has reached a boiling point of pure outrage, and they are cooking the WNBA on every public platform. Fans are looking at the flagrant fouls, the late hits, and the post-game upgrades, and they are vocalizing a deep, systemic frustration. They are pulling no punches, openly calling out the league's double standards and stating on the ground that the physical targeting is deliberate. The public is highlighting the immense economic windfall this superstar has brought to every franchise, yet they are watching her absorb unchecked physical punishment. The fan perspective is loud, unified, and completely chaotic. The lack of authoritative consequences from the commissioner's office is turning the product into a dangerous environment, and the audience is entirely fed up with the lack of institutional accountability.
Congress sent a letter this week to Commissioner Engelbert. They said they're concerned about what they called physical hostility and violence toward her. One line in particular said, quote, "Concerning reports suggest that many of these attacks against Caitlin Clark may be racially motivated." What's your reaction to that?
Our team made a statement yesterday, so you can find that statement.
No, I understand that. I just mean as a coach, when you hear one of your players is being mentioned in a letter from members of Congress to the commissioner of the league, how do you handle that?
Again, that's not something we can control. We're not affiliated with those groups, and we try to keep the main thing, and focus on the things that we can control.
Well, you can't control what happens.
This brings us directly to head coach Stephanie White and her handling of this massive situation. White was asked about the decision to rest Clark at the post-game podium, and in keeping with her approach to difficult questions all season, she did not give a fully satisfying answer. She talked about being smart with the back-to-back. She talked about player safety, and she talked about the long season and the importance of managing the schedule. She stated that Clark's health is their top priority, but she completely deflected and refused to address the specific optics of sitting Clark in Phoenix against the team whose player injured her in the first place. When previously pressed on how she handles the reality that one of her own players is the focal point of a federal inquiry regarding workplace safety, White similarly deflected, stating that it is not something they can control and trying to keep the main thing the main thing. She is choosing to dodge the broader narrative, but her generic coaching mantras are failing to satisfy a fan base that demands real answers about why the franchise player is repeatedly sidelined.
Last year, if you'd have sent a 10-game suspension and a real fine at any of these players, I guarantee you, 10 games and a $50,000 fine on Alyssa Thomas, and let the PA piss and moan all day long. You're the commissioner. You've got strength. Use it. You've chose not to use it because you're scared of the backlash.
The root of this administrative vacuum points straight to the very top, and Kathy Engelbert's leadership is under an intense, unforgiving spotlight. While all of this was happening on the basketball court, the United States Congress was still waiting for a response from the commissioner. The House Republican Study Committee's letter demanding answers about Clark's protection under federal civil rights law set a hard July 24th deadline, and that deadline is coming fast. Yet Engelbert has remained completely silent publicly, failing to hold a press conference to address the congressional demands. The commissioner had every opportunity to prevent outside intervention by dropping the hammer on excessive physicality early in the season with heavy, uncompromising suspensions and massive fines. Instead, she chose standard operating procedure, showing a complete lack of administrative teeth and leaving the league exposed to a potential Department of Justice and EEOC crackdown. Ignoring a congressional letter with a looming deadline creates its own severe legal consequences, and Engelbert's silence suggests an administration that is simply terrified of the internal backlash.
NBA can be, including, as you noted, my kids. My daughters love watching the Caitlin story, and they love seeing the other players and seeing the team come together. But they also, feel affronted as well when they watch a player like Caitlin get violently fouled repeatedly, when they see her gouged in the eye or punched in the throat. This isn't something that Americans should want or that the league should allow. And so this is one of the reasons that I and other members of Congress have stood up to call this out and really say, we want protection for our players. In the same way that the Fever's own coach has said, the fouling has now become egregious.
The 5-0 record without Clark does not resolve these massive institutional questions. The questions are about whether Clark is being targeted in ways that constitute discrimination or retaliation, creating a hostile work environment. And that is entirely separate from whether the Fever can win a regular season game without her. Both questions matter, and both are racing toward a definitive conclusion. The Fever demonstrated tonight that they are a real basketball team with real depth that can compete and win at the highest level. And Clark will be back soon, with a healthy back, a rested body, and a supporting cast that has completely figured out how to win around her. When she returns to this lineup, the WNBA is going to be looking at the most dangerous Indiana Fever version of the entire 2026 season, but also at a congressional letter the league still has not answered. This is WNBA Pro. Smash subscribe if you want the channel that covers every single angle of every major storyline. Drop your take in the comments below. Are the Fever actually better without Clark, or is this 5-0 record completely misleading? I want every prediction about what this team looks like when she finally steps back onto the hardwood. Hit the notification bell right now because the All-Star break is coming. The July 24th deadline is ticking down, and the second half of the season is where championships are won. We will see you in the next one.